of stoutness.
I'm getting my steps in today.
Yeah. Here's the blow. That's as much as you get today.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I would have liked to have slipped in a minute before noon, but now we're afternoon. I think we're ready to go.
Yeah.
For those of us who are not present, there's a huge mob of people in the outside area here for the job fair, which is totally exciting to see that many people here in the airport. So we'll just get started with the Pledge of Allegiance, if Select can meet over to me. I pledge allegiance
I pledge allegiance to
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and
justice for all. Thank you. Sylvette, would you please call the roll?
Paul Anthony,
Here.
Robert Brooks,
Here.
Frank Facciano,
Here.
Don Gottschall,
Here.
Justin Grimshaw,
Here.
John Hayes,
Here.
Ron Heckman,
Do you have another screen that you can flip to, or is this all? You see there?
Larry Hemberger, James Irwin,
Here.
Jeff Matskin,
Here.
Glenn Reedman,
Present.
Mike Stershik,
Here.
Matt Turk,
I am here.
Chris Worley,
He's there. There he is.
okay, and I see Ron too. And Tara Zarinsky.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Awesome. Okay, do we have public comment?
Whirly's here.
Gotcha.
Thanks, Chris.
We do not, sir.
No public comment. Very good.
Correct.
I hope everybody had a minute to review the minutes of our March meeting. Well, actually, that was our February meeting, but it took place in March. And ask for motion to approve the minutes as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Frank. Glenn, I'm sorry, it's going to get my second. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, minutes are approved. We'll.
Matt,
Yes, sir.
I didn't know if my phone blanked out on me. It's Ron Heckman.
Thanks. We will note your presence.
All right, thank you.
Very good. We'll flip over to our treasurer's report. Todd, I believe that's going to take it to you.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Run through the treasurer's report. Always start off with the traffic. For the month of February, we had a nice even 53,000. That's not a typo, it's exactly 53,000. And we're somewhere between, we're not quite at the 2018 level, but ahead of 2017, and obviously significantly more than we had in 2021. This is our benchmarking. We'd like to show this. This is kind of how we're doing compared to all other airports. As you can see, we're not quite doing as well as overall airports in general, but our seats are up. We're down 9.7, and this is versus 2019 from January 1st to March 12th. All other airports are actually up, and that's throughput going through the checkpoint. Seats are down across the U.S. by 0.5%. We're actually up, so we have the capacity, just not quite there yet. And this is versus our benchmarking airports. Darren can give you a list of all the names, but you can see versus our peer airports, we're actually doing a lot better than them. They're about 19% down on seats. Again, we're up on seats, and they're down almost 26%. Going through the checkpoint, again, we're down slightly less than 10%. As you can see down there, Harrisburg, which one's MDT?
What is the comp set, Darren?
With it. Harrisburg, MDT is Harrisburg.
Harrisburg is NDT. And in Wilkesboro, you can see that obviously we're doing much better than they are. February, again, we always look at this with or without CARES. Net income pretty significant, but we had over $1 million in CARES that we collected in February. But again, a positive number without CARES. So you can see there that we had about 83,000 without CARES. A lot of that is revenue driven, which is always a good thing. So you can see they were down slightly on parking, but aviation services, a lot of that on the de-icing front has helped us out a lot. Again, year to date, last month we were up 300,000 with the 83,000 this month. Again, without CARES, that takes us to 383. Again, it's all about the revenue. We're still managing our expenses, but the big thing is revenue because obviously you can't cut yourself to success. This is kind of the big budgetary impacts. You can see the top of the numbers there is salary and wages. We're about 15% down versus what we budgeted. We budgeted FTEs about 226. We're at 190, around 191, 192. We are trending upward, so that's a good sign. And again, it's FTEs, not bodies, because we're about 260, 250 in bodies. We had about 135 of those are full-time employees. So we have a pretty good mix between full-time and part-time. You can see kind of the breakdowns there, de-icing. Thank you, Connie. Everybody say thank you, Connie.
Thank you, Connie.
There you go. And you can decide to say breakdown, de-icing, aviation services. You can say thank you, Darren.
Thank you,
On
Darren.
some of that stuff. And then, but you're down there, you see the cost of fuel and aviation kind of net those out, but obviously the two of them together are positive. And that represents, those 5 items represent over 90% of that $1 million variance. Let's talk about our cash flow. We try to stay above the 60-day line. This is for the 12-month. That black line there on the screen shows you the 60-day mark, and you can see we're in pretty good shape as far as staying above that line. Any questions?
Questions for Todd? Getting more graphically challenged with the cash on hand presentation is a little different.
It's hard. It's not as little squeamy things. I figured it was a little easier for you to see what's going on there.
We appreciate the creativity.
Thank you.
If there's no questions for Todd, I'd ask for a motion to accept the February 22 treasurer's report. Glenn, I'm going to give it to you, and they'll take the second from whoever that was.
Mike Sturgeon.
Terrific. Thank you, Mike. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, treasurer's report is accepted. Mr. Grimshaw, you have an item for us?
Yeah, just one for a fan motor repair. I'll actually hand it off. I don't have my notes in front of me. I'm about 4 hours away from Allentown right now, and I forgot them there. So I believe it was Steve that can give us the update on this.
If it's not, he'll do it anyway.
Perfect. You're on, Steve.
Thanks,
So we talked about this in committee. It's really a kind of an emergency repair of one of our two 50 horsepower motors in our air handling unit 1. This air handler unit 1 basically provides the circulated air within the terminal building here. Scope of work will be to remove, rebuild, and reinstall the motor, and this was done through HT Lines under PA CoStar's contract. ID number listed there. They're already in progress, so this was kind of an emergency thing. We need to get this done and in before we get to really warm weather here in the next month or so. So just looking for approval.
Any questions first? Okay. I'd ask for a motion to approve the repair of the fan motor.
I'll make a motion to
Thank
approve.
you, Tara. Glenn, I'll give you the second. All in favor, or if there's any additional discussion? If not, all in favor of approving the purchase or the repair of the fan motor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, the motor shall be approved. Finally, our executive committee, we do have a couple items here. One order of business, but also, and that's because we didn't have a quorum for the executive committee yet. Apologies, we're gonna ask you all to approve these invoices from Florio Perucci because we did not have a quorum for our executive committee. I'll do that part first. It asks for a motion to approve the Florio Perucci invoices as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Frank. Glenn, I'll take that second. All in favor of approving those invoices, please say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Okay, invoices are approved. The nominating update, I don't think we have Larry on the line. And Mike, I think you have the information. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have it.
Perfect.
Uh, We continued through the nominating process, and the nominating committee is recommending the following. For chair, John Hayes. For vice chair, Glenn Reedman. For secretary treasurer, Justin Grimshaw. For the Northampton County representative, Tara Zrinsky. And for the Lehigh County representative, Mike Stershik.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike. So the process will be that we now have a slate in front of us. We have time to consider that slate over the next month or so, maybe less, I guess. And we will, at our April reorganization meeting, we'll vote on that slate. I believe at that time we'll also be able to take nominations from the floor, but I will ask that the full board accept the recommendation of the nominating committee at that time and approve the slate as delivered. Thank you, Mike, for the work that you did, and thanks, Larry. I know Larry's got some challenges right now, so we'll talk through with him, and appreciative of the work that he did putting that nominating committee together and getting those nominations in place. There's no other business for the executive committee or from the executive committee, so I would now turn it over to Tom for his executive director's report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So as Todd mentioned, generally a good month traffic-wise for February. Just taking a look at the numbers as they related to 2019, again, going back to 2019 as sort of our last real year before the pandemic. Again, 9% below February 19 levels when we look at this past February. When we take a look at March and kind of March to date numbers, nationally, we're seeing TSA's passenger traffic numbers through checkpoints down about 13% versus March 19. ABE's throughput through March only down 2% versus March of 19. So again, trending better than what we're seeing nationally. In terms of April and projecting ahead into what's scheduled in the system at this point, our airline seats are down just about 3%, it's 2.8% versus April of 19. Nationally, you're closer to 8%. So again, really seeing a lot of seats in our market coming back to those 2019 levels, which is certainly a good thing. Since our last meeting on March 1st, March 7th through the 11th, our staff attended a workshop, actually a symposium in Nashville. AAAE had a customer experience symposium where airports across the country had their staff there talking about customer service procedures, programs, amenities. So a good program. We got a lot of great feedback from that. On Monday, March 7th, we hosted U.S. Senator Bob Casey Jr. We discussed infrastructure projects going on at ABE, like our runway and terminal, and also some funding opportunities coming up with the bipartisan infrastructure law or the bill program. March 9th, we were over at Freedom High School for their career fair. Again, back in February, we were at some Allentown schools as well. So working in the Lehigh Valley at some of the schools at their career fairs. Back on March 10th, we did have our own Airport Authority job fair, and a number of people came through. I believe we had 10 positions that were offered as part of that. So I know some offers are still pending there, but still encouraging that we had some good feedback there. March 10th and 11th, we hosted the 99's International Women's Organization and had a little event in the terminal, and that was in recognition of Women of Aviation Worldwide Week. As we talked about right now, we've got Omega Radio, they're hosting a job fair. I think we've got about 15 different employers out there in the second level of the terminal. That's happening till 4 o'clock today. So certainly that's creating some additional traffic in the airport. And then in terms of what's upcoming, March 31st is National Crayon Day. So I think Crayola is helping us out. We're going to be distributing some crayons and coloring books for passengers. April 4th through the 10th is National Library Week. So Allentown, Bethlehem, and Easton libraries will be set up with information tables in our terminal. April 22nd is our annual Earth Day cleanup at all of our Airport Authority facilities. So we get all the staff involved and do a nice cleanup on Earth Day. And the TSA mask requirement was extended through April 18th at this point. So stay tuned as we seek additional guidance from the TSA on any additional requirements for masking as we move forward. So with that, that concludes my report. Mr. Chair, happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Does anybody have any questions for Tom? Anybody on the Zoom? Excellent. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Sure.
Judge Friedberg, you have a report for us?
Yes, just a reminder that the financial interest forms are due May 1, and they are to be provided to Sylvette, who was charged with keeping them on file here for review. The solicitor's office during the past month was involved in some significant work for the Airport Authority. We assisted the staff in substantial revision of competitive bidding documents, and that has now been accomplished. I issued a report in response to a request for what we could do in terms of having audio and video recording devices on the airport shuttle. We provided the analysis of legal issues with regard to the injury prevention program employee waiver agreement that is under consideration by staff. We provided documents for the personal injury case that I reported to you on last month. There have been some discussions with regard to a reimbursement agreement to Rockefeller for a parcel that was covered in the Rockefeller development. There were some relatively minor matters involving cell tower lease for T-Mobile. A tax assessment appeal was scheduled for March 17, and a few other minor matters. So that's what the solicitor's office has been involved in during the past month.
Thank you, Judge. Does anyone have any questions for Judge Friedberg related to the solicitor's report? Okay. Do encourage you all to get those statement of financial interest complete as soon as possible. Is there any new business before the Board of Governors? No? Okay, and I do not believe there's a need for an executive session. Is that correct, Tom? Can we take that as a no? Very good then.
I take that as a no.
I will ask for a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Glenn, and a second.
Second.
Thank you, Tara. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
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 We are adjourned. Thank you.
That was quick.
Thanks, everyone.
Does that
Thank
beat your
you.
record, Tom?
Yeah, thanks.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Hayes.
Aye.